It's about what do you want to build.
In part one of this story, Ambassador James Mugume, a career diplomat who retired after 43 years of service, credits the performance of President Museveni in pursuing a foreign policy agenda that has culminated in regional peace. Roman 28 of the Constitution of Uganda spells out that the foreign policy objectives pursued shall be based on the principles of promotion of the national interest, respect for international law and treaty obligations, peaceful coexistence and non-alignment. It speaks of settlement of international disputes by peaceful means and opposition to all forms of domination, racism and other forms of oppression. It also emphasizes that Uganda shall promote regional and Pan-African cultural, economic and political cooperation. These are the core principles which Wandera Ogalo, a former member of the Constituent Assembly that drafted the 1995 Constitution, argues should be basis of measuring the foreign policies pursued by President Museveni and, by extension, the national resistance movement.
If you are now looking at President Museveni, how he has done with foreign policy, you would have to say for the last 30 years, because this is when the Constitution told him.
Consensus has it that Museveni has without a doubt catapulted the integration of the East African Community economic bloc.
In East Africa, yes, I'll give it to Museveni. He has achieved a lot with the community.
Museveni, together with the late president of Kenya, Daniel Arap Moi, and the late president of Tanzania, Benjamin Mkapa, revived the community in 1999, about 22 years after the first East African Community bloc collapsed.
Some actors seem to treat this integration as optional. In my view, I have always heard that it is mandatory to unite or risk perpetual marginalization. How about political integration? In the case of East Africa, we the Pan-Africanists have never relented.
The community has expanded into an 8-member bloc, including Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the latest entrant, Somalia.
Uganda, we have consistently pushed for integration all the way. The others have been sort of dragging, but Uganda's policy has been integration all the way.
Together, the bloc boasts a population of 340 million people, with the combined GDP estimated at $350 billion.
The 3 richest countries in the world today are all big countries, big landmass and big population. When we look for foreign markets, the reliable core market is the internal one. It is guaranteed. The richest countries are the USA, China, and India. I appeal to the youth of East Africa, to go back to Uhuru na Umoja.
The integration is underscored as a critical market for the promotion of intra-trade.
Next question is the issue of strategic security against all possible threats. If we do not understand that, we are going to betray Africa. Strategic security can only come, in my view, from political integration.
It is this level of interest that the 81-year-old Museveni has in regional integration, which some compare to his push for Pan-Africanism. Singing praise for Museveni over the policies is Jacqueline Amongin, an East African Legislative Assembly representative who previously served in the Pan-African Parliament.
Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is a Pan-Africanist by birth. For him, you're not going to tell him about I'm Ugandan, I'm Kenyan, I'm Tanzanian, I am a Munyankole, I'm a Muganda. Those are too trivial for him. For him, he's looking at the bigger picture. How can Uganda trade with Ethiopia?
Pan-Africanism is an ideology purposed at uniting and empowering people of African descent all over the world. Disagreement surrounds how much Museveni has helped in the attainment of the objectives of Pan-Africanism.
Let's go back to the AU Parliament. If you really wanted the Pan-Africanism, if you really thought that you want to push Pan-Africanism, the AU Parliament would be having real powers to change Africa. They have nothing.
He argues that it is a concept more easily talked about that can be implemented.
Everybody talks Pan-Africanism. Even countries which know nothing about Pan-Africanism, their leaders also talk about Pan-Africanism. But if you can show me tangible results of Pan-Africanism, especially from leaders who have been in power for a very long time, like President Museveni, 40 years.
Among in fights back by singling out the open door policy Uganda has towards refugees.
It's only in Uganda where you go to Changwali, you go to Isinjiro, you go to West Nile, all over Kampala, you see refugees freely coming in. And they are welcome because they can settle. It cannot be anywhere in Africa.
Uganda now is being touted as a model of how to host refugees globally. Especially, community has accepted them. Our communities have accepted them into their schools, into their health facilities. But as you know, that comes with a burden.
Uganda leads in Africa with the highest number of refugees and the fourth globally, as it hosts over 1.5 million refugees, of those displaced by conflict in the neighboring South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In 2017, Kampala co-hosted the Refugee Solidarity Summit alongside the United Nations, geared to raise $2 billion for humanitarian assistance. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres attended the Refugee Summit in person.
Support this country in this very, very challenging moment.
Kampala has been supportive of the conference diplomacy. Notably, the state hosted the Commonwealth Heads of State Conference in 2007, which was attended by the late Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom. In 2024, Kampala hosted the 19th Nonalignment Movement Summit, back-to-back with the summit of the Group of 77 and China. Museveni is credited with upholding the critical foreign objective of non-alignment.
President Museveni has played his cards very well in balancing these superpowers. Russia, China, America, European Union. I think he has played his cards well in balancing them to the extent that we can actually say that we are non-aligned.
Choosing to work with all the major powers is considered crucial for the economy to thrive through the attraction of foreign direct investment.
That is good for us. It's good for our image that these people don't take sides in other people's fights. That is good for us because you don't want to go into a place where you might end up being involved in a fight you never intended to get to be involved in. You bring here your billions to do your business, to invest here. Then you hear that there are American sanctions because Uganda is on the side of Russia.
In the diplomatic world, Uganda operates 36 missions abroad, which are inclined to the provision of consular services, commercial and political cooperation. Oftentimes, concerns arise about the appointment of political failures to represent Uganda instead of the consideration of meritocracy and promotions.
Because you need to know the dynamics why one failed in the constituency. Here we are talking of diplomats. And diplomacy, by the way, is taught, it's not born. You go to class and they teach you how diplomacy is conducted.
It is generally observed that the regime has somewhat balanced the foreign policy interests, enabling a shift into other fields of diplomacy like trade, environment, technology, and conference diplomacy, leading to recognition within the international community and domestic development.
Conclusion, I would say, as far as the foreign policy of Uganda is based, I think we have largely been we have acted within the basic principles dictated by the Constitution of Uganda.
Jackson Onyango, NTV.